Whew. We have a lot to discuss. What's the lighting saying? Not fantastic. Make some adaptations to the lighting setup. This should be more preferable. Or additional light. Perfect. Glare on my glasses, probably a little bit off, but hello. Just trying to work out what mic I've got coming through at the moment. Okay. This is the first multi-stream that we are doing. So it feels kind of crazy right about now. Okay. Hello, everybody. Hello. We've got a lot of news to discuss. The world has been a crazy one in mixed martial arts the past 24 hours. And I haven't really slept, to be honest. I had a couple of iced coffees this morning. Usually I have one, maybe every other day. And today I had two back to back. So I've not really come down from that high as of yet. But I'm still just riding the wave. We'll wait for a few more people to join and then we'll get stuck into things because it's been hectic. It's been absolutely hectic. We've had Chimaev drop out. We've had Conor McGregor drop out. We've had the likes of Kamaru Usman asked if he wants to fight. Sean Strickland asked if he wants to fight. There's been a lot happening in the mixed martial arts world the last 24 hours. And all I can think is how crazy that the episodes are going to be when they do the behind the scenes of this. That will be quite interesting to see how that goes on because a lot of people have been enjoying those clips. The Roku behind the scenes with the UFC. Phenomenal content. Absolutely phenomenal content. And fair play to them as well because they even put out content which is not necessarily always painting them in a fantastic light. So you have to respect that first and foremost. But yeah, the Roku behind the scenes has been good. I can't wait to see what it looks like after this. Okay, right. Let's get into things. How do I think Yuri versus Alex 2 plays out? It's a good question. And the thing that I'm not too sure about is how many changes does Yuri Prochazka make to his game? Because what we were shown in his last fight is he's more often than not rewarded when his offense is his best defense. He tried to be, or what seemed to be, a little bit more calculated the last fight, but Rakic was just picking him apart, absolutely picking him apart. But the moment that Yuri said, you know what, this is not going my way, I need to make this look ugly, I need to make this messy, things changed dramatically quickly for him. So does he go and do that against Alex from the first bell? Because that's a dangerous game. Because you're now talking about someone that only needs a split second. Whereas he could afford that sort of risk against someone like Rakic because he was eating some of his best shots. Now, we've already seen on multiple occasions you can't do that against Alex Pereira. So I do think it's going to look similar to the first one. But the truth of it is, it only takes one of the wild shots to get through, and we're talking about a completely different fight. I honestly do think it's a coin flip. Despite what the result was in the first, I think it can very easily go the second way. So I'm probably going to completely sit on the fence here and say that flip a coin and that'll tell you the answer. Yuri looked bad against Rakic. 2 of those shots from Pereira will KO Yuri. That's what I mean. When he started to create that chaos, he started to look good. But as well, that was later towards the end of the fight, and Rakic is coming off a long time away. So that definitely may have played a factor as well into his conditioning. I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot of similarities to the first fight, and I believe the winner is just a pick-up. I really do. I don't know what the odds will look like. I imagine Alex Pereira will come in at the favourite, and rightly so. He's got the momentum. He's got the recent win over him. So I would imagine he looks something like a minus 200 favourite, maybe less than that, maybe a 180, possibly. Do I think Conor is going to fight again this year? Well, by what the reports are saying, it sounds as if he's going to be okay in a couple of months. That's what it sounds like. Whether that is the case or not, we're yet to see, but it sounds like he's going to be okay in a couple of months. And this is what I really wanted to know the answer to. Was it a case of he's got a bad injury where he's forced to withdraw? Or is it a case of he's got a niggle or a nuisance, and typically he would have always fought through it, but he's trying to make one of the most memorable comebacks of all time, so he doesn't want to risk anything, so he can just delay it a couple of months. And you have to remember as well that he has that luxury. He has all the bargaining power, all the leverage in this situation. So I think that's probably what it's going to look like. So whether or not they make this fight in 2 months is yet to be seen. But best believe Michael Chandler's sitting and absolutely stewing at home. What do I think of Diego Lopez versus Brian Ortega? My bet is Diego KOs Ortega. The exact same way that I broke down Diego Lopez's last fight, I believe is going to be quite applicable to this Brian Ortega fight. I think he's going to have too much horsepower. I think that's what it's going to come down to. I think Diego Lopez is going to be able to overwhelm Brian Ortega in the clinch, and especially when he's closing range. I don't know whether Brian Ortega quite has the horsepower and the fast twitch fibers to compete with Diego, especially early on in this fight. Maybe if it goes later, that's a different question. But even then, it's a 3-round fight, and we've seen him push a hard 15 minutes against Movsar Evloev on a couple of days' notice. So we look at paths to victory. Usually we look at the jiu-jitsu of Brian Ortega. He's very, very good at finding small opportunities amongst the chaos. Now, there is a possibility there, but I struggle to see a world in where Diego Lopez gets submitted. I really do. I can see him just being able to do enough to stay safe, but also grappling at such a high intensity and such a ferocity that it's not necessarily going to give Brian Ortega maybe that opportunity to establish a position. But then again, he doesn't need very long. So maybe the chaos of Diego may play into his hands, potentially. But the way I see this going is it just being too dynamic on the feet for Brian Ortega. He does have nice striking. That's always improving. I don't think it's quite that next level. I don't think it's that Max Holloway, it's that Volkanovski, it's that Ilia Topuria. Of course, his grappling is lights out, and that's where I give him the chance here. I just can't see him hurting Diego Lopez. I can't see him hurting him on the feet, and I can't see him submitting him. So I'm going to have to go Diego Lopez. I don't think he'll be able to knock him out. But if he can knock him out, that's a statement. That's an absolute statement. It really is. It's a massive shame for Michael Chandler. And the thing is that you have to remember for Chandler is not only is he being completely slowballed with this entire process, but it's more than that. It's more so the mental and the physical peaking. And that's one of the first things that I actually noticed. When I went to my first ever amateur show and my friend was competing on it, that's one of the things that I realized was so tangible. when you go to a real show compared to just watching people behind a TV screen, you realize how difficult it is and how many factors there are that go into the result of peaking at the right time. And of course, when you're an amateur, it's a lot more random and sporadic. But even as a professional, you have to think you're sometimes going into different time zones. You're going into different cities, different states, different climates. So many different elements that are going into this, a million different things. Even maybe your sleep is slightly disrupted because you're in a different hotel. And now you have to peak at the right time. And Michael Chandler has just been on this weird roller coaster of peaking for this fight that's, well, not happening now. What's happening, Lon? How was your trip to Thailand? How was your trip? I thought you was going to be there for a couple of months. I don't know why I thought that, because that doesn't make sense, because obviously you're fighting in August. Where did you go? Did you just go Bangtao? Because Bangtao is it's something about it. I was saying to the Hitman brothers, the last time I went there, it was just kind of a mat space. It was just a mat space where they did a bit of jiu-jitsu, they did a bit of striking, and they had the S&C room. But now it's just a full complex. They've got absolutely everything, and now it just feels like a flipping super gym. They're really building something pretty special over there. Do I know British fighter Ibrahim Ibragimov? I do. He trains out of Manchester Top Team. I've sort of had him on my radar for quite a long time, actually. And that performance the other day was super impressive. Really, really high level finish over. Can't remember for the life of me who he was facing, but a tough opponent from Jack Shaw's gym. And they're very well-known grapplers out of that gym as well. And he just absolutely cut through his guard and submitted him. It was very impressive. So, yeah, I do know him. I certainly do. But, yeah, I'm glad you had a good time, Lon. A couple of weeks. That's what you need for a little refresh in United's academy. Yeah, they're doing really good things, Manchester Top Team. Really, really good things. And by United's academy, I'm guessing that you mean the football team, right? Which is that's a pretty high level athletic family. Him fighting on PFL, and then you've got the likes of his brothers fighting or playing football for United. So, yeah, that's pretty impressive, to be honest. There's a lot of good talent coming up from Manchester. Everyone has pulled out. It's kind of crazy. Someone asked a second ago, why did McGregor pull out? It was an injury. It doesn't sound like it was a pre-existing one from the last leg injury. But it can't be that serious if they're having discussions about making this fight again in a couple of months. Whether that will happen I've just realized. Just this second, I've written. I was going to say something. I was going to say, as I'm sitting here, I'm realizing that this is teeing the UFC up for Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor at the Sphere. Am I crazy? I guess the Nate Diaz, Jorge Masvidal boxing match is happening. I can't remember when that's happening. So I imagine that's, of course, going to take precedence. But now we're starting to look at a couple of months' time. That's July, August, basically September. Now we're looking at a Conor McGregor headliner for the Sphere. Conor McGregor, Michael Chandler for the Sphere. The biggest combat sports athletes of all time in the first ever live event in one of the most intricate and captivating venues in the world. Sign me up. That sounds like a fantastic idea. That sounds like a fantastic idea. And let me paint this picture to you whilst we're just flowing ideas. The lights dim. In fact, not the lights. The entire full arena dim. And then there is this foggy green hue and just mist. And then the lights and the camera shows start going crazy. And then boom, foggy dew comes through the speakers. And Conor McGregor starts making his walk for one of the most historic events of all time. Come on. Who's not trying to see that here? I think this actually could be a positive. I think this could play out for the better. I truly do believe that. I believe that this could play out for the better. However, if it isn't Conor McGregor, I believe Sean O'Malley makes all the sense in the world. I don't understand why they make the Sean O'Malley-Merab Dvalishvili fight for the Sphere. That fight makes all the sense in the world, in my opinion, because you can really elevate the walkout of Sean O'Malley, which is already incredible. Already incredible. Has a phenomenal walkout song. So now you think about Sugar Sean O'Malley walking out to Superstar with all the pink lights just flooding the Sphere. That's cool. That's very cool. And then on the flip side, you're going to have the challenger who's going to walk out, more than likely with some sort of Mexican theme, because Merab does a great job of leaning into that. Merab eats it, Sean O'Malley alive in the later rounds. I think it's probably the worst matchup for Merab. A lot of people are talking about it from the reverse perspective. It's the worst matchup for Sean. I don't necessarily think that's true, to be honest. I really don't. I think there's more paths to victory with Merab than there is a Corey Sandhagen. That's my personal opinion. Now, I think Merab Dvalishvili poses a lot of problems, of course, the same as he would for anyone at 135 pounds. But I think Corey Sandhagen causes more problems. And I actually think Sean O'Malley is the worst matchup for Merab possible. The worst. Because the narrative you would have painted before his most recent fight with Chito Vera is we've never seen him go 5 rounds. And that's a fair statement to make until you've seen it. But now we've seen it. And granted, it's not necessarily at the grappling pace over 5 rounds that we'd probably see with a Merab. But Merab gives openings. Merab gives openings, especially when he's spamming the takedowns. Because sometimes what happens is he does get a little bit sloppy defensively when he's exiting the pocket. That's a fact. We've seen that against Marlon Moraes, very sharp striker. We've seen that against Henry Cejudo, very sharp boxer. It was the exact shot that caught them. That counter check left hook as Merab's got his hands down and he's leaving the pocket because he's just gone for another takedown and another takedown. I don't think it's a good matchup for Merab. I don't. I think there's paths to victory the same way as there is for everyone in that division. But I don't think it's a great matchup for him at all. And if we're to play out what a lot of people believe is going to happen, let's say Merab goes there and he can get to Sean and he does manage to get to his hips and he does get him against the cage, similar to a Petr Yan. What does he do with that? Doesn't necessarily have the most frightening submission game. Doesn't necessarily have the game that's going to continue chaining attacks. I think it's a good matchup for Sean, to be honest. I actually think it's probably one of the best matchups for Sean in the top of that division. Easy? No. Easier than others? For sure. Definitely think so. And one thing that I'll say on that, the last thing I'll say on that as well, is a lot of people are completely counting out the grappling game of Sean. I think one aspect of this fight that a lot of people are not talking about is, okay, what happens if Merab does take Sean down? I think the Sugar Show is going to have a lot more to show and a lot more problems to provide offensively in the grappling than Merab is. I can say that quite confidently. We've just never got to see it. But when you look at the team that Sean's working with, the likes of Tim Welch, the likes of Taquinho Mendes, and then you have a look at all the incredibly high-level grapplers that they have in the Red Hawk Academy, you're talking about a lot of good training partners, a lot of good bodies, a lot of seriously high-level athletes. And then you also mix in the work that he can get from the MMA lab, also mix in the fact that he's in Arizona, some of the best lighter weight classes, some of the best bantamweights in the world. And then you mix in with the fact that boy is a freak athlete. And he's never had to show his grappling yet. I honestly think that the jiu-jitsu of Sean O'Malley is going to surprise a few people when we finally see that. I really, really do. Really believe it's going to surprise people because his athleticism will translate over. Best believe you'll see him rolling for submissions that people just wouldn't expect of him. Even it was just yesterday that I was watching him actually transition between leg attacks. He's quick. Do I do martial arts? I'll say no for the most part. I do some Muay Thai training here and there. I really do enjoy that, to be honest, but not full-time, no. Put your money on Sean. Well, that's up to you. I'm not going to tell you where to put your money, but if I had £100 and I had to bet it on one of those two guys, well, I think you're the fourth person to say this to me this week. Yeah, I did used to be a personal trainer. And it's actually crazy the amount of people that have fallen into these live streams that have said this to me. I never anticipated this once. So, hello, Luke. Good to see you, my friend. But that's actually so weird you say that. Someone was in my live stream only yesterday and said the exact same thing. And he's actually now, I believe he's even a personal trainer, which is kind of weird, really. I've been in this game for a minute. People think this is some overnight success. I've been here for a minute, for a long time. Should Leon fight Islam? I don't think Leon Edwards should fight Islam next, but I definitely think that's a fight to make in the future, 100%. I think Leon still has some work to do. I think if Leon can go out and beat Bilal convincingly, and maybe get one more title defense, maybe a Shavkat Rakhmonov, I believe the Leon Islam Makhachev fight is the fight to make. I think pound for pound, that's as high level as it gets at the moment. So yeah, I do think he should fight him, just not yet. Do I think Pereira beats Ankalaev? I'll say this. I think Alex Pereira doesn't get enough credit for doing all the right things on the ground to stay safe, mitigate risk, and then get back to his feet. Whether he gets back to his feet within the round or whether he understands that he'll just ride out the round and then start the next round standing, either one. But he doesn't get enough credit for that. And when it's standing, you're always going to favor Alex Pereira, sorry. Always going to. People say this sometimes. Sometimes I waffle. I create 24 videos sometimes a day, every day. There's going to be some bits that don't just boom, 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 boom every time. Bearing in mind that I do it off the cuff, off the dome, one take. It's just sometimes people don't quite understand that. It's not scripted, it's not written down, it's not me articulating points before I say, no. I literally just film the phone and boom, I go straight into it. So it's hard to articulate thoughts that fluently sometimes. I'm competing in powerlifting comp relatively soon, so I appreciate the help. That's proper cool. That's very, very cool. That must have been some years ago now. It must have been a couple of years ago that you would have been in my live streams for the fitness world. It's cool how it's all circles back. Does it make sense for Dustin to fight Charles if Charles wins his next fight? No. I don't think that makes any sense at all, in all honesty. I don't think that makes any sense for either man. I think with a big win, Charles Oliveira is always in the conversation for a title picture, for sure. I think he's in that bracket now, the same as Dustin Poirier, the same as a Justin Gaethje, same as a Conor McGregor, just in regards to their one win away from a title. I think Charles is there, especially when he had a very close fight to Arman Tsarukyan. It wasn't a complete whitewash. So, yeah, I don't think it makes any sense, but Charles is not far away. I don't think Alice Groff's fight's necessarily undeserved. They just kind of want to fast track him, which I get. Every time he's gone out there, he's put on quite a emphatic performance. He's fought high-level guys outside of the UFC, so we've seen him in there with the best. I don't think it's that undeserved. I think you can just keep that one rolling, yeah. How do I think Israel does against Dricus du Plessis? What I think with that matchup is I think Israel is going to be good enough to mitigate the grappling of Dricus. And although Dricus du Plessis has good defense, he doesn't necessarily have that transition striking. He doesn't counter-strike. Therefore, he's not slipping shots or rolling under shots and then landing things with Izzy. So he's not going to be able to trade like that. So he's going to have to cover up like he does. Covers up, high guard, eats the shots, wears it usually on his arms or his biceps, and then he rushes and then he makes opportunities. So he definitely can have success like that by backing Izzy up and by doing that for sure, and then mixing in his grappling. Not necessarily I think they will do much with it, but I definitely think he can at least give that look. But I think the problem is when Izzy is being offensive and he's shelling up, that's going to give openings. That's going to give chances to someone like Izzy, who's such a pinpoint, accurate striker, that if you're covering up with a high guard, he can dig to the body, he can rip to the body with punches. He will use different kicks. He will tear up the legs. So stylistically, it's quite an interesting fight. And now we've seen Dricus push a hard 5, but Izzy's conditioning is off the charts. I would still definitely favour Israel Adesanya in that fight, for sure. That's what I would favour personally. European fans, they've just woken up and their world has been turned upside down. That's what happens as European fans. You wake up and you just see Dana White behind a board with loads of names on, and you know things are about to get crazy. You know things are about to get crazy, and that's exactly what happened. Hello, Sports Daily. How are you, my friend? It's a shame about Khamzat Chimaev. It really is, because Chimaev's actually been in the UFC for the best part of 4 years now, I believe, which is kind of crazy to think about, because not only is he one of the biggest superstars, but we know him for that activity. We know him for fighting twice in a week. I'll fight anyone at any weight. And you kind of knew as he progressed up the rankings that was going to slow down, but it was impossible to foresee it slowing down to this point. And of course, it's not necessarily his fault because it's illness, but it's just very unlucky. It's very unfortunate. Ortega Lopez is a fantastic matchup. It really is. I think there's only one fight I would have preferred. I would have preferred Diego Lopez, Josh Emmett. That's what I would have preferred. Or I would have liked to have seen, here we go, here's a thought. I'm just spitballing here. Brian Ortega versus Josh Emmett. And the reason I say that is so that you can save Yair Rodriguez versus Diego Lopez for the Sphere. Come on. Tell me that's not a fight that you'd like to see. That's a big, big fight. Diego Lopez, Yair Rodriguez in a sphere. Wow. Did I see the PFL last night? I didn't, unfortunately, just because of the times that it was on. So I just caught some of the glimpses of it. I watched Dakota get another very impressive win. She's one of the funnest strikers to watch in MMA at the moment, period. Something that Dakota does better than arguably anyone at the moment in mixed martial arts is utilize that clinch cage position with Muay Thai, with elbows, with body shots, with knees, overhook on the right side, and then damage with the left. And I don't think there's anyone at the moment that's doing that better than her. She's got multiple stoppages that have all started from there. And this is something which is actually really interesting because I believe we could start seeing a slight spark of where there could be a change in MMA. Where we saw things like the low kick become very popular, the calf kick, I believe we're going to start seeing more of a transition of Muay Thai with the cage wrestling. That's where I think the next evolution is going to be, because that's where I feel like there is a lot of time spent with less damage than there possibly could be in a lot of fights. You see a lot of fights stall in that position. Maybe it's the transition from someone defending the takedown and using the cage work, but there's a lot of idle time there. Sometimes people were doing it just to buy time so that they can recover. Sometimes it's because they're just very much focusing on the grappling or to remain position. Sometimes they're too focused on position that they don't get any offense off. And I know that from Great Britain top team, Ash Grimshaw is always a big fan of putting high kicks on the exit. But it was even a knockout recently where they landed a knee. They had the overhook on the right-hand side, and then they just framed the big knee and got a brutal knockout. And I think that's really where we're going to start seeing a lot more work in MMA, is in those positions there. I really do. UFC, every week you find themselves tangled up in those positions, and there's not a lot of offense there. And then when you see Paul Felder, for example, on the call, he goes crazy at it because, of course, he loves elbows. Leg kicks was always utilized. Look at Pride and Strike Force days. Calf kick, I should be more specific. The calf kick was not always utilized. Thoughts on the guy from Risen? Have you seen him? I can go one better than seen him. So Kai Asakura, the Risen champion, I have seen him. I've been breaking down quite a lot of his work. And what is even more than that, I'm going to be flying to Tokyo at the end of the month. I'm going to be flying to Tokyo at the end of the month, and hopefully I'll be doing some work with Kai and his team. Just fingers crossed that his coach is going to be in town, because I've been speaking with him. So if everything goes to plan, I'll be flying to Tokyo at the end of June and doing some work with Tokyo Top Team, which is where Kai Asakura is out of at the moment. So yeah, that'll be pretty fun. So yeah, I have heard of him. I have been watching his footage, and hopefully I'll even be able to go out there and meet up with him. How do I feel about Conor and Hamzat backing out of fights? I think the Conor one is a smart move, to be honest. As much as I woke up and that one stung a little, number one, I think I was very ready for this, to be perfectly honest. And number two, I actually think it's a good thing. I actually think the fact that Conor McGregor pulled out is, in the long run, probably a good thing. Because if I'm just to guess, if I were to speculate what's happened, he had an injury. Well, this bit is factual. He had an injury which was not necessarily bad enough for him to completely withdraw from the fight, But it was enough of a concern for them to teeter between having it on and withdrawing him. And now it's an injury that they're talking about pushing back to a couple of months. It sort of suggests that it's not that bad. So if you're asking me, would I rather Conor McGregor pull out and potentially come back at closer to 100%? I'm always going to take that option. He's been out of the age for, 3 years or whatever it is, coming up to at this point, or a good couple of years. So a couple of months or a few days in the general scheme of things is really not that bad. So I would rather him come back at 100% or close to, because he's put a big title on this, the biggest comeback in sports history. So if you're going to come out with a big statement like that, you need a big performance. And I'm happy to, I don't really have a choice in the matter, but I'm happy to facilitate as a fan the idea of Conor taking more time so he comes back a better version. That's okay. That's okay with me. I'm okay with that, to be honest. What's happening, Ollie? Nice to see you, my friend. You know what's quite funny, Ollie? 2 times this week, in fact, 3 times this week, I've had different people join the live stream and say, I used to join your fitness live streams, which would have been 4 years ago at this point, maybe 5 years ago even, which is kind of insane. Been here for a minute. Years. This is too far. Just wasting Chandler's career at this point. The fight's been brewing for almost 3 years. It has. There's not really much else to say on that. Yeah, it's true. Tom Aspinall or John Jones? I think if I was to make an unemotional decision, I would probably say Tom Aspinall. When you factor everything in. Now, is there every possibility that John goes out there and beats him? Yeah. Is there every possibility he goes and does what we've seen him do every time in his career? Yes. But is there also a possibility that he's coming off a seriously bad injury that he had to have surgery on, and he's coming against someone that has been studying and watching him his entire life? And I think at any point of John Jones' career, he's always faced people that were incredible strikers and he's outstruck them, and incredible grapplers and he's outgrappled them. But the truth of the matter is he's never faced both asterisks at heavyweight. We've never seen that. That's a fact. That's just a fact. So when we talk about John and Tom Aspinall, of course, it would make sense if people were out there saying they believe John Jones is going to win. That's all he's ever done. It's a very logical standpoint. But if we look at Tom, it's also very logical to suggest that he could get a very emphatic win and be the first person to ever stop him. That's very possible, because we've never seen John truly at heavyweight for an extended period of time. We just haven't. And best believe that Tom Aspinall is not going to be completely lost in the grappling realm. Cyril Gane very much was. Very much was. And we've always seen John Jones have an incredible chin. One of the best, in fact. But Tom's speed is just different. It's just different. And you go back throughout his entire career, the 1-2 that he lands, the accuracy, the distance management, and the speed from a man that is lights out for anyone. It doesn't matter who. Look at Sergey Pavlovich. The man is built like a breeze block. Tom's your business partner. Nice. What business would that be in, if you don't mind me asking? I'm intrigued now, because I know the large majority of the structure of his sort of brand, I guess, from the gym to the people that do his filming and editing. So yeah, I'd be quite interested to hear in what capacity he's a business partner. But yeah, I truly believe, I just think he's an absolute, I think when you apply logic, I think people get very emotional about the topic, right? Especially when it's John Jones. It evokes a lot of emotion. And I'm not sitting here saying he can't win. I think Tom will be the first person to tell you that John Jones most certainly can win. Heavyweight MMA, it's a different sport entirely. He's got his own MMA community now. Interesting. So that's a online platform. Let me ask you this. This is a bit more of an intricate question. You built it for him. Okay, nice. So is the community that he has built on a platform, his own hosting platform that you've built, or is there a third-party hosting platform? And then I'm guessing that it's sort of like an OnlyFans setup where it gives behind-the-scenes content? Or is it more focused on the training? Or is it both? Is it breaking down techniques? I'm interested. School. Yeah, of course I know school. I'm actually really interested in this. So if you're actually on this live stream for a couple of minutes, I'd love to just pick your brain really quickly because I'm a big Alex Hormozi fan. And when Alex Hormozi went all into school, that really perked my interest. And then I started seeing what they were doing. And now it's really perked my interest. Now that you're saying Tom's migrated over there as well, now it's making me think even more. Because if I'm not mistaken, I have a very general understanding of it. But if I'm not mistaken, school is essentially the hosting platform. And then within that, there are communities. So you would have for here an MMA community, right? So then you would pay for his community and then you'd go in and then it'd break down the techniques. Okay, interesting. Did I go to college? Yes, it's called university in the UK, but yes, I did go to university for sure. Well, that's cool then. So what did you help build then? I don't mean that kind of sounds kind of rude, me putting like that, but the reason I asked that is because I just assumed that you built the hosting provider for him. But if it's on school, what was your role in this? Was it just to migrate the content onto the platform? Very intriguing. Yo Romero. Yeah, I get that one a lot actually, to be honest. Yeah. Big Yo Romero. So it's a lookalike I get frequently. What am I studying? I'm not studying anymore. I'm studying the game of mixed martial arts is what I'm studying. But I did Soldier of God. Yeah, that's a wild one. That's a wild comparison. Not quite the same melanin, or the same genetics, or the same fighting capabilities. I'm struggling to think what we'd have any similarities on. Yeah, not really too sure. Our role is to basically build out the foundations of the community and then help manage it. Okay. So if I was to think of what that actually looks like operationally, that would be to maybe help with the marketing of the platform, maybe to help with the sort of the oiling of the platform, if you like, engagement with the community. Not too sure. You're in the UK. I certainly am, my friend. Right, last couple anyway. I'm releasing how I do what I do very soon, marketing, etc. funnels. Oh, okay. So you're actually going to run marketing on it. Okay, nice. So you're going to run funnels. Interesting. So you're going to run. Are you going to run the ads? Will you run paid ads? And if so, I'm guessing that would be on Facebook, right? Especially if it was school. I just imagine that the platform lends itself best to Facebook. I would guess. Casuals is swole. Just good lighting. All organic. Oh, even better. Amazing. So you'll just run it straight through organic content. Wow. Nice. I think that's the best way to go, especially for him. He has so many good people behind the scenes with his content. Adam Nixer, one of them, I believe. Who else? I can't remember. He's got a couple of boys that work on his content that are really, really good. Okay, right. Last couple of questions. But yeah, that's really interesting actually. So you'll run organic content against the score and then just integrate it to have the links. Okay. Wow. Okay. It's making me think actually, because okay. It's surprising show. Yeah, have a good one. Thank you for the engagement anyway. Thank you for sparking that interest in my head. Okay, last couple of questions and I'm going to bounce. It's all going to be a battle for which Scott gets it done. Yeah, I mean, it's still a bit of a pick 'em with the Alistair fight as well. That's not an easy fight either. Who's better, Charles or Volk? I'd go Volk. Well, it depends what's better. Better finishing ability, Charles Oliveira. Is this a full-time job? Most certainly is, my friend. It most certainly is. It's more than full-time. I'll tell you that for free. It is 19 hours a day, 24/7. Well, there would be 19/7 actually, wouldn't it, technically? Do I pay £15 each Muay Thai session? Yeah, I'd say roughly it's about £15 for the most part. Yeah, about 700 baht. Yeah, I'd say that's probably about how much it costs. Depends where you go. I've had some that have triple that. Well, actually, flipping way more than triple that, quadruple that. It just depends where you go and what the trainer is, who the trainer is. Sorry, notoriety and the busyness. Of course, it's just like anything, really. Supply demand. That the old supply demand curve. But anyway, right. I'm going to bounce because it's getting a little bit late here. I've got a lot of work to film and I need to go 7-Eleven. I'm going to go and get some snacks. I'm going to just do a full day of work. Recommend Thailand to a materialistic person. Yeah. It's arguably better for materialistic people because your money goes further. So if you are a materialistic person, then it's probably a benefit. Well, it's definitely a benefit. Who's the GOAT in MMA? Easy. Demetrius Johnson. Next question. Why am I in the Philippines? I'm not in the Philippines. I'm in Bangkok. And I can't speak any Tagalog, but I can speak a drop of Thai. Okay, any burning questions? Ronaldo or Messi? Messi. It depends. Is that what you're asking there? But to watch, for sure, Messi. It's not even a question. Yeah, Demetrius Johnson done it in ONE FC. He was the greatest in the UFC. He's done it in jiu-jitsu, mate, flipping all day. I see you train there. Train where? In Thailand? I do. Ronaldo's better. It depends what you define as better. As a purist watching football, I'm 6'2". I appreciate watching Ronaldo, but I don't get any joy watching Ronaldo. Watching Ronaldo back in 2008, much more exciting. Watching Ronaldo in 2018, much less exciting, or later than that, to be honest. 2020, much less exciting. Prolific goal scorer, phenomenal athlete, one of the best to ever do it, undoubtedly. But if you're asking me who would I rather watch play football, Messi, and it's not even close. Not even close. Am I still in Thailand? I certainly am. I'm in Bangkok currently. And anyway, I'm going to sign off now. He didn't retire. Greatest of all time in the UFC. I'm going to go DJ, probably. Demetrius Johnson. I'm going DJ. Yeah, for sure I'm going DJ. Yeah. Right, okay. I'm going to love you and leave you all. Thank you all for the engagement. Thank you all for the questions. Thanks for keeping me company. And I shall see you potentially tomorrow. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Keep it casual.